A blind Chinese dissident who escaped house arrest by fleeing to the American embassy in Beijing has been reunited with his family. The case of Chen Guangcheng has sparked a row between the two nations, with China accusing the US of interfering in domestic affairs just as the Secretary of State Hillary Clinton arrived in China for trade talks. Our Asia correspondent Holly Williams reports.
Chen Guangcheng is finally getting some much-needed medical care. The American ambassador delivered him to a Beijing hospital where he was joined by his family. Outside, one brave supporter was quickly hustled away by police, but the Chinese government has promised that Chen Guangcheng will now be safe from persecution.
I hope that Mr. Chan can go to the US because his family has suffered under the Chinese government. His health also needs checking, and his children need a proper upbringing. I believe that will be a huge improvement, but he personally has said several times that he's unwilling to leave because he feels that he's a free man. There are no laws which should impede his freedom.
But some of his friends say he was pressured into staying in China after the authorities threatened to beat his wife to death. Mr. Chen is a political activist. He's also blind and has suffered terribly at the hands of the Chinese regime. For the last year and a half, he and his family, seen in this home video, have been under house arrest. But last week, Chen Guangcheng staged a daring escape, evading security guards, scaling a wall and making his way to Beijing. He then made this plea for help.
A dozen men broke into our house and pushed my wife to the ground and beat her for hours. One of the government officials told me that they don't care about the law, they don't care about legal process, and there's nothing we can do about it.
For the Chinese regime, American involvement in Chen Guangcheng's case is a very public humiliation. They've demanded that the US government apologize, punish those officials involved, and promise that nothing like this ever happens again. As Hillary Clinton arrived in Beijing today, Mr. Chen's presence inside the US embassy cast a shadow over her talks with Chinese leaders.
This could not have come at a worse time for the United States. This administration came in saying human rights is important, but we also need China on a whole host of other issues. We need their help with the Eurozone crisis. We need their help on Syria, on Iran, on North Korea. But now Chen Guangcheng, by escaping from house arrest in Shandong province, has forced human rights back to the front and center of the relationship between the U.S. and China. And that's exactly what this administration did not want.
The US has negotiated to try to win Chen Guangcheng his freedom, but in doing so, it's angered and embarrassed the Chinese government. Holly Williams, Sky News, Beijing.